Manchester United are currently locked in talks with Sporting Lisbon over Ruben Amorim's notice period, which Mail Sport has learned is a number of weeks. The Portuguese club confirmed in a statement to the market on Tuesday afternoon that they had been approached by the Premier League giants, who want to replace sacked Erik ten Hag with their highly rated young coach. The note added that United had expressed an interest in paying the 39-year-old's release clause. However, while United are happy to meet that clause, they are currently negotiating when Amorim can start what will be a huge job at Old Trafford. And it can be revealed that Amorim, 39, has a notice period of a number of weeks rather than days. That means that should an agreement not be reached on an earlier termination, he will not be in the dugout when United take on Chelsea on Sunday. Indeed, there is a prospect that Amorim, who won back-to-back titles in Portugal, could not take charge until United head to Ipswich Town on November 24. After facing Leicester in the EFL Cup on Wednesday evening and Chelsea on Sunday, the 14th-place side take on the Foxes in the league on November 10. Following that match, there is a two-week international break before the trip to Portman Road in a televised Sunday 4:30 p.m. kickoff. Sporting statement disclosed that their directors had informed United's representatives of the terms of the 39-year-old's contract, specifically the termination clause of €10 million, and added that United expressed an interest in paying that valuation. Ruben Amorim is set to become Manchester United's next manager, with Sporting Lisbon confirming that the Premier League club are prepared to pay a €10 million, £8.3 million, release clause for his services. Talks between United and Sporting accelerated on Tuesday, with reports insisting the release clause has now been triggered, and the Portuguese coach could now be appointed in time to take charge of Sunday's Premier League match against Chelsea. Amorim wants the job and has agreed to be the club's next manager after the Old Trafford hierarchy put the 39-year-old at the top of their list to replace Erik ten Hag. Manchester United have registered an interest in hiring Ruben Amorim and paying his €10 million release clause, a statement from Sporting said. Amorim took charge of Sporting's League Cup match against Nacional on Tuesday night, while Ruud van Nistelrooy will oversee United's Carabao Cup tie against Leicester City on Wednesday. But why ten Hag is sacked? After all, the Dutchman had presided over a wretched start to this Premier League campaign, despite the club spending more than £500 million on signing players since ten Hag's arrival 2 years ago. His tactics had not worked, and the players he brought in had mostly underwhelmed. And so the manager's departure came as no surprise. 3 weeks ago, United co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe declined to back ten Hag when I asked the Ineos billionaire if he still had faith in him. Ratcliffe said he liked the coach, but ominously he also admitted there was a need to take stock, and insisted responsibility lay with the executives that run the club on his behalf. Ten Hag then survived a meeting of the club's hierarchy a few days later, and the October international break, but the sense was that he was on borrowed time. And so it proved. Yet while few fans will mourn the decision to sack the manager, his departure also raises awkward questions for those in charge at Old Trafford. Why, some may ask, did the club not act sooner, rather than allowing potential replacements such as Mauricio Pochettino and Thomas Tuchel to be snapped up elsewhere? Was it a case of admirable loyalty or a stubbornness that backfired? Why did an end-of-season review in the summer, led by Ineos head of sport and former British cycling performance director Sir Dave Brailsford, conclude it was right to stick with ten Hag? Especially after United had come close to replacing him, having approached several possible managers, a process that revealed their doubts, and may have undermined the Dutchman. Yes, there was the impressive FA Cup final victory over Manchester City to consider, after ten Hag had also led his team to the EFL Cup the previous season, along with support for the Dutchman from both fans and players. But his team had still finished 8th in the Premier League, the club's worst season in the competition. Despite that, the manager's contract was extended, a decision which now means United may have to pay more than £15 million in compensation, according to several well-placed sources. United are refusing to comment on the cost of sacking ten Hag, but such an outlay, along with the £200 million that was spent on more new signings in the summer, will now come under intense scrutiny. Speaking in February, having just invested £1.25 billion on a 27.7% stake in the club in a deal that saw Ineos take control of footballing affairs at United, Ratcliffe told BBC Sport that he was focused on changing the club, rather than the coach. If you look at this last 11 years, United has had quite a few coaches, no one's been successful, so that would say to me that there's something wrong with the environment, Ratcliffe told me. And yet, despite such sentiments, ten Hag has been let go just 8 months later. The problem the manager faced was that the on-field failure could no longer be blamed on majority shareholders, the Glazer family, or the structure surrounding him, because Ineos had taken control of footballing matters, with Ratcliffe overhauling the senior leadership. Both Chief Executive Omar Barreda and Sporting Director Dan Ashworth joined United in July, after Ten Hag had been retained. But their decision to publicly afford the manager their unequivocal backing last month raised eyebrows at the time, and now seems even more curious. Did those words box them in, and make it harder to subsequently admit a mistake? The silence and uncertainty surrounding Ten Hag's position following a 7-hour meeting of the club's executive committee at Ineos London headquarters 3 weeks ago did not help, with some critical of the way the saga has been played out in public. BBC Sport has been told that alternatives to Ten Hag had been discussed at that meeting on 8 October, but that the club's hierarchy still wanted to give the coach every possible chance of saving his job. However, some believe the situation could have been handled better. Why can't they have these meetings without anyone knowing where they are? Sky Sports pundit and former United captain Roy Keane asked at the time. A couple of months ago everyone was saying, they've got new people coming on board, they'll have all the answers, more money on recruitment, and United have gone backwards. I'm not sure I'm seeing proper footballing people who are making the right decisions for the club. Many fans were excited by the fresh approach Ratcliffe promised when he arrived after years of decline under the unpopular ownership of the Glazers. But while he has recruited highly rated executives such as Barreda, Ashworth and technical director Jason Wilcox, there have also been casualties. A restructuring of United led to a decision to cut 250 jobs, as part of a determination to slash costs, and save around £45 million per year. Staff perks before last season's FA Cup final were stripped back. Not even Sir Alex Ferguson was safe from the cuts, with Ratcliffe's decision to axe his £2 million ambassadorial salary also proving controversial. Privately, United officials say such decisions have not been made lightly. The club had the highest employee count in the league. But others at the club have hinted at a blow to morale and a loss of identity, arguing that poor recruitment around the first team in recent years has wasted far more money than will be saved by cutting the rank-and-file workforce. Veteran defender Johnny Evans said it was hard and difficult to see. There's people you've known for 20 years, while former assistant manager René Meulenstein said the cost-cutting needs some justification. One former senior United executive, who wished to remain anonymous, told BBC Sport they had grave concerns about the new leadership's approach. They believed just because they were now in charge, things would be different, they told BBC Sport. Sustained sporting excellence is hard to find. My main issue isn't the sporting side, which is volatile, it's the destruction of culture which underpins a meaningful sporting organization. It is a cost of everything, value of nothing approach. The new leadership at United can point to the £113 million net losses that the club posted in its latest accounts in September as proof that a shake-up was desperately needed at Old Trafford. That followed losses of £115.5 million in 2021-22 and £42.1 million in 2022-23. Some experts believe the club only avoided breaching profit and sustainability rules that limit losses to £105 million over 3 years, because exceptional costs caused by the impact of COVID and of last year's sale process were taken into account. We are working towards greater financial sustainability and making changes to our operations to make them more efficient, to ensure we are directing our resources to enhancing on-pitch performance, said Barreda at the time, hailing transformative cost savings and organizational changes. But United failed to qualify for this season's expanded Champions League, and missing out on the competition again would prove even more costly. The club's accounts revealed that its deal with kit manufacturer Adidas includes a clause that would mean a £10 million penalty for every season they do not qualify for the competition. During the year, Ratcliffe provided an injection of £153 million, as was set out in his investment into the club, for infrastructure, including a revamp of the club's training complex. The billionaire is due to invest a further £76.5 million by the end of the year. He is also weighing up whether to pursue a £2 billion plan for a new stadium, or to redevelop Old Trafford, with a final decision, potentially among the most important in the club's history, expected by the end of the year. But some question how either project will be financed, amid a backlash at the suggestion that Ineos could seek public funds to help. Such ambition initially raised expectations of a brighter future at the club. But, as Ratcliffe has admitted, on-field results must improve and, now that the decision to retain Ten Hag in the summer has been exposed as a mistake, there will inevitably be renewed focus on Ineos' record across their other sports teams. French club Nice, which Ratcliffe bought in 2019, qualified for the Europa League last season. But in 4 full campaigns in charge, he is yet to see Nice finish higher than 5th in League One, and they have twice finished 9th. They are now on to their 7th manager under Ineos ownership. Lausanne, meanwhile, bought by Ratcliffe in 2017, are 8th in the Swiss Super League, having been relegated twice during that period, before then gaining promotion on both occasions. Despite one of the biggest budgets in cycling, Ineos Grenadiers have proved a shadow of the all-conquering Team Sky which Ratcliffe took over in 2019, with no major win for several years. The billionaire has enjoyed more success in sailing whereas Ineos Britannia boat reached the America's Cup, the first time a British team has been in the final since 1964, but then lost a one-sided final to holders New Zealand. But it is at United that Ratcliffe and his executives will ultimately be judged when it comes to their investments in sport. Perhaps the patience Ineos displayed with their sailing team influenced the decision to give Ten Hag time. Maybe the cost of sacking the manager was also a factor. To be fair to Ratcliffe, back in February, he tried to temper expectations by warning that it could take 3 years before United were a true force again. The task, he said, was not just a simple short-term fix. We have to walk to the right solution, not run to the wrong one. Sadly for Ten Hag, there was a limit to the patience of his boss. Reviving United and returning them to the top of English football has become one of sport's greatest quests. Less than a year into their attempt at doing so, it is way too early to judge Ineos' record at Old Trafford, and to assess their strategy. Only time will tell if United eventually benefits from the petrochemical company's learnings from their other sports investments, as Brailsford has suggested. It is too soon to know whether the decision-making structure at the club, with the Glazers now shielded from scrutiny, will prove successful, or if tensions may emerge. But some of the goodwill Ratcliffe and his executives enjoyed in their early months has been lost, and they are now under intense pressure to get their first managerial appointment right. For the first time perhaps, they now realize the truly daunting scale of the challenge that confronts them. Manchester United are in the process of hiring Ruben Amorim as their new manager after sacking Erik ten Hag on Monday. Proactive in getting their number one target, Ineos are trying to get their desired man through the door quickly to get United's season on track. The Reds are positioned 14th in the Premier League and Sunday's 2-1 defeat to West Ham proved to be the final nail in the coffin for Ten Hag. Amorim quickly emerged as the favourite to take over at Old Trafford, amid an exclusive report from David Ornstein in The Athletic. Talks are now at an advanced take with Sporting Lisbon confirming an approach from United, with an understanding that a €10 million release clause must be paid. According to Portuguese outlet A Bola, in addition to the €10 million termination clause, valid for top clubs in Europe, Sporting won an extra €5 million so that the rest of the coaching staff can terminate their contracts. An extra fee has been demanded by the Portuguese champions so that the move to Manchester can happen immediately. Amorim has a 30-day notice period at Sporting and United are working on a way to waive this period. Sporting confirmed earlier on Tuesday that United had made an approach and are willing to pay Amorim's €10 million, £8.3 million, release clause. Speaking after his side's 3-1 Portuguese League Cup quarter-final win against Nacional on Tuesday evening, Amorim told Sport TV, "External nothing is decided yet. I don't know if it's the farewell game or not." Then in a news conference he added, "There is interest from Manchester United, there is the payment of a contract term and when I have something more solid, I will come here and tell my position, because it will be my choice. While I don't have everything decided, for one side or the other, I can't tell much more." Amorim added that he will be at training on Wednesday to prepare for Friday's league game against Estrela de Amadora. Asked if he will be in the dugout at Old Trafford for Manchester United's game against Chelsea on Sunday, Amorim said, "I will be here." But when pressed added, "I don't know." Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola says United would be getting a high-level coach in Amorim. "All I can talk about is the experience of playing twice against Rúben's Sporting Lisbon team, 1 or 2 seasons ago, and the pressure was really, really good," the Spaniard told a news conference. "And look this season, he is unbeaten in winning all the games in the Portuguese League and the Champions League, they have, the same points as us. So a high manager. What's going to happen I don't know, because what happened here in my experience, doesn't mean it works for the other ones. The manager, the team, the club, the structures, the physios, the doctors, the players, it's many things." Sporting fans speaking to BBC Sport outside the stadium before the Nacional game were sad about Amorim's reported departure, with some questioning the decision to move to Old Trafford. "Rúben, I hope he doesn't leave. I am a little upset because we need him. I don't think United is the right place for him right now, but let's see what happens." Erik, leaving in the middle of the season is very bad. It is for a club in one of the major leagues with a good history, but the timing is just sad. I have never seen a coach like him in my life. Andre, I feel more confused than angry. I don't know why he would go to United now. They say the United train only stops once. But if he stays here and wins another championship, he will get better trains. United don't feel like the one right now. Diogo, it is hard to lose him mid-season, but he has to make his own career path. We are grateful for everything he did. The next coach, whoever it is, will do a great job as well. Rúben is a great coach and will do fine at United. Sporting Lisbon have officially announced in the last minutes that manager Ruben Amorim will leave the club to join Manchester United. The Portuguese manager, formerly a target for both Liverpool and Manchester City, is now set to become the new manager at Old Trafford. Liverpool previously held a strong interest in the Sporting boss, before the appointment of current boss Arne Slot. However, due to a number of key factors and issues, Liverpool decided against the appointment of Amorim. United have acted fast to appoint a new manager following the sacking of Erik ten Hag. The Dutchman was let go by the club following United's loss to West Ham on Sunday, with the Red Devils struggling in both domestic and European competitions. Manchester United FC expressed interest in hiring coach Ruben Amorim, and the board of directors of Sporting mentioned the terms and conditions contained in the employment contract in force between the company and the coach, in particular the respective employment clause termination, and for the amount of €10 million. Manchester United FC expressed interest in paying Sporting the value of them said clause. There is a chance that Amorim could even be in charge for United's next Premier League game, which sees them take on Chelsea at Old Trafford this Sunday. Final details are set to be completed following Sporting's game tonight against Nacional.